program and what it means to be a promotional partner. And so Grow Solar is a group buy program where we actually help people to learn and understand more about what it means to have solar energy installed upon your home, how that works, what are the benefits, what are the issues with them, and then it provides a group buy discount. So what we hear from a tremendous amount of people is that the challenges to them actually going solar in terms of having that is that it's hard to walk through and negotiate all the different opportunities that are out there, and there are so many different ways and so many different people to talk to. So this program says that we are with Missouri Botanical Garden. We have partners that I'll describe in a moment, and that you can trust us that have vetted the opportunity. We have done an RFP to choose one solar installer. And so if you come to what we call our solar power hours and learn more about it, we will help you walk through that system, and we navigate all those questions and all that clarity that you need in terms of how to make such a program work. So as a nonprofit partner within the program mix, we provide that information to individuals, and we do that in very focused promotional areas. So it allows us to spend our efforts in a very focused area. So anybody in the St. Louis City and County can apply, but because we have promotional partners, which we're hoping, for instance, such as Brentwood, it would allow the promotional partners to help us get the word out there. And then we hold, when we can, these solar power hours in that particular municipality to help expand the effort of people coming to your area and learning more about different things. And they usually pick up supper. Again, this is outside of COVID-19 timeframe. So the Grow Solar St. Louis program is really an excellent way to have people understand what it takes and how to navigate that aspect of how to include solar within their homes. And it's a way to understand how to do things in the easiest way possible, with a trusted group of partners who can provide you that information, with promotional efforts in our municipal area, and with a group buy program, which means there's a discount to it all by going through that program. Certainly people can go solar in any way they want to and contact any kind of the solar providers they'd like to, but if they go through this program, they get the group buy discount. And so our partnership team that is brought together, that's presenting Grow Solar St. Louis, is the Midwest Renewable Energy Association, which has been doing programs for years and years, these kinds of Grow Solar programs, the Missouri Botanical Garden that I represent, and Washington University. So the three of us to come together as an administrative team to provide Grow Solar to the St. Louis region. In terms of how does it work, typically we do that RFP and hire one solar installer to be able to work with us. This year we have chosen Straight Up Solar. That was also the same solar provider we used in 2019. We do a new RFP every year in terms of that, but Straight Up Solar will be working with us again. Highly successful work with them last year. And then we actually get these promotional partners, which are various municipalities in the area to help us promote the program. And then we get what we have are called solar power hours. And we do these solar power hours, which are informational sessions that are 1 hour long, typically held in a municipality. And then people will come to that area, and 1 hour later, they have learned everything they need to about how solar works, the financial aspects, all the different components to it. And we have our solar experts are there with us. So 1 hour later, they've learned how the program works, how solar works, how it might work on their home, what kinds of questions and financial aspects there are. And then at the end of the program, they can contact or work directly with the Straight Up Solar information people that are there. They have a special software mapping program that allows them to pull up each individual homeowner's location and to look at their home and tell them whether or not their home is viable for solar. They are looking at the shading and the roof type, and then they will tell them, and if not, they tell them right out and honestly if they don't have the kind of roof and location that is actually applicable for solar. So 1 hour later, people know whether or not their house is viable. And if they're interested, then they move forward by contacting Straight Up Solar and going down the steps to actually get that group buy program. So in that whole general aspect about how it works, we certainly, of course, are making changes this year due to COVID-19. So we are now doing what we are calling is live virtual power hours. So these will be webinar-based and registration-based programs that people can sign up on. We are also doing an online sort of like learning process for those people that don't engage well in webinars, so that you can take that online learning and still make sure and process through information at the end. We have always stated that we want people to attend a solar power hour first before signing up for the program, because there's so many different pieces of information. We want you to understand it before you get into the program. So we've set up an online, virtual way that people can still get the webinars, still prove that they have that online learning, and then still be able to move forward as a result of getting that information. So those are the kinds of changes that we have implemented this year. Our first online virtual webinar will be part of Earth Day's celebration that they are doing in the third week of April. So that is our first time that we'll be doing this. Last year, we had a promotional partner series of the municipalities that worked with us. Was Clayton, Richmond Heights, University City, Maplewood, and the City of St. Louis. We identified municipalities who had already been engaged in working in solar aspects in their region, and had a second list that we wanted to expand into. And Brentwood was on our second list, and Bola quickly jumped on ideas. And before we'd even approached you guys, she approached us. Thank you very much for that. And we are very excited and hope that Brentwood will be able to come on as one of our new municipal partners for this year. What does it mean to be a promotional partner? No funding from you, no commitments from you. It simply means that you would allow us to use your logo, so that we would say, hey, these are the other promotional areas and promotional partners that are supporting this effort, and that you would have staff time that would be spent in assisting us with promotion via whatever systems you have. So if you would put something on your website, if you would have e-newsletters that go out, if you have social media aspects, allow some signs to go up in your areas. And again, when we can have live in-person solar power hours, we place them in the municipalities, in typically restaurants and locations in your municipalities. So it helps to spread the word, because people are driving past signs that see that there's a solar power hour coming that week. So those are the kinds of things that come from what it takes for you to be a solar promotion partner within that Grow Solar St. Louis program. Again, no commitment from you, just a sign saying that you will be a promotional partner. That's all that it takes for you to be able to do this. What kind of success did we have in 2019? Well, way more than we'd expected. We thought that we'd hoped that we would maybe sell 150 to 250 kilowatts of a system, which typically means maybe 30 to 50 homeowners would have signed up. Instead, we had 71 homeowners sign up. So that was more than 434 kilowatts that we had accomplished in that. We ended up with 23 different solar power hours that we did, and over 640 people attended those solar power hours. We again ended up avoiding more than 407,000 pounds of coal. That's the kind of impact of having Grow Solar, having solar installed. So it was a wildly successful program last year. We hope for that kind of success this year, but we are realists in understanding that COVID-19 is having an impact on people. But we are still getting requests and inquiries from people. So we are indeed moving forward with our program. Straight Up Solar is definitely engaged and definitely committed to installing in a very safe and healthy and COVID-19 focused way of any kind of installations that can still happen at this point in time. So that's the background to the program. That's what it takes to be a promotional partner, and the successes that we have last year. And we hope that you might consider coming on as a promotional partner.
Thank you, Glenda. No financial support, no commitment. What I hear sounds like my marriage. That's the kind of commitment, the kind of partnership that I like. All right. Any questions for Glenda? This is coming up under the consent agenda. If not, then we will move on. Thank you, Glenda. If you could just stick around in case we do have some questions under the consent agenda. Next on the agenda is item 4B, Proclamation Arbor Day. That's, I guess, our, what is the president, whatever it is, of the Board of Aldermen, Alderman Lockmuller. This is when you get to shine. You get to read this.
I don't have it in front of me.
Okay. Well, then we'll keep that in mind when it comes time to vote on another president of the Board of Aldermen. No,
I didn't know I was going to need it.
Now, Steve, if you don't have it, I'll go ahead and take it.
Thank you.
Oh, sure. Proclamation and recognition of Arbor Day, whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees, and whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. And whereas the city of Brentwood has been recognized as a Tree City USA by the National Arbor Day Foundation and desires to continue its tree planting practices. Now, therefore, I, Mayor David Dimmitt, do hereby proclaim April 24th, 2020 as Arbor Day in the city of Brentwood and urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands, and further urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations, presented the 6th day of April 2020. We have another proclamation, and that is Missouri Local Government Week.
You better read that one.
You want to go ahead and do that one? Thank you.
No, I can't pull it up on my screen.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Steve. No problem. In recognition of Local Government Week, whereas local governments in Missouri make important decisions that affect the lives of all Missourians, and whereas local governments are the level of government closest to the people, and whereas local governments include Board of Aldermen, city councils, county commissions, and school boards, among others, and whereas local governments are the ultimate expression of grassroots democracy, and whereas local governments play an essential role in the quality of life in Missouri communities, now therefore I, David A. Dimmitt, Mayor of the city of Brentwood, do hereby proclaim April 12th through April 18th, 2020, as Local Government Week in the city of Brentwood, Missouri, St. Louis County, and urge all Missourians to join me in recognizing local governments as they serve our communities. In recognition of Local Government Week in the city of Brentwood, Missouri, presented the 6th day of April, 2020. All right, next on the agenda is item 5A, public hearing, which we have none. 6, citizen comments. We have no citizen comments that have been provided to us, so we will move on. Now, item 7, mayor and alderman reports. I have one quick report, and I just want to speak to an article that appeared in today's Post-Dispatch, and it was the front page article. It was about the effect that the county executive Page's order about the stay in place and just the voluntary efforts taken by all, the effect that it's going to have in reduction in sales tax, and obviously how that's going to affect municipalities. I want to assure this board and those who are listening and watching that this has been something that Bola and I have been discussing for weeks, long before County Executive Page issued his order, which I believe was about March 22nd, going back to the first week of March, if not the last week in February. Bola and I talked about what we saw as some real possibilities in in order to flatten the curve, to ask staff to stay at home, and what effect that would have on revenue to the city. I can tell you that Karen Shaw has been asked to work on trying to put together some projections for you all to keep you up to date, the board that is, on where we are. As you probably know, about 70% of our revenue comes from sales tax, which is not unlike a lot of these municipalities. Unfortunately, we don't know from one day to the next what our sales tax are. It takes a while to get those numbers. It could be a month, it could be 2 months before we get those numbers. Consequently, and as Alderwoman Sims can tell you, they just looked at the numbers, I believe, for the revenue, but that was just through February at her last Public Works or Ways and Means meeting, which was in April. We're not going to have the numbers in March, which is when the shutdown really took effect, till May. However, we are not waiting until we get those numbers to try and make some adjustments. And Bowl and I have talked about things that we can do, and we have taken a lot of steps. And going back again to the first part of March, and again, you probably know this, but maybe those who are watching do not know the steps that we've taken. So I just want to run through those quickly. We have stopped all travel by city employees, unnecessary travel. They might travel for seminars or something like that. If it's absolutely necessary, they can still do it. We stopped a lot of capital expenditures. We have reduced certain services. We have shut down the recreation center and the ice skating rink. And as you know, we recently furloughed a number of part-time employees. I'm hopeful that the steps that we have taken are sufficient, but again, I want you to know that we are mindful of this, and we are doing everything that we can to stay on top of this. I'm a fiscally conservative person, and so I would much rather have a situation where we pull back too much than not enough. I think, but here's the good news. We have very robust reserves, unlike a lot of municipalities, and we wanted to use those as a rainy day fund if we need to. They're there. We have reduced staff. Now, by that, I'm not talking about the recently furloughed. I'm talking about just in general, we are having staff stay at home, a number of staff, and ask them to work from home. But the realities are, as you might know, year in, year out, we come in under budget on our expenditures. And the good reason for that is we're not fully staffed. And when you're not fully staffed, you see a savings, if you will, in both salary and in programs not being completed. Now, while we are still paying these employees while they are working at home, it's not, we are cutting back on some of these programs. So I would anticipate that we are going to see some, if you want to call it savings on the expense side, we should be able to see that. But the reality is we're not going to have a one-for-one, a dollar-for-dollar savings compared to loss in revenue. We are going to take a hit, and we fully expect to. But I do want to let you know and let the residents know that we are on top of that, and we're going to do everything that we can to be good stewards of the tax dollars. And with that, I will move on to the board. Alderwoman Ebeling, do you have any report?
No, I don't have a report for Ward 4.
Okay. Alderman Leahy.
No report.
Alderman Lockmuller.
The Public Works Committee meeting that was scheduled for Thursday, we really didn't have anything pertinent until May, so that's been canceled for April. Thanks.
Thank you. Alderman Plufka.
The Ward 1 meeting we tentatively scheduled for Tuesday, April 14th has been canceled.
Thank you. Alderwoman Sims.
No report.
Alderwoman Tice.
No report.
And Alderman Weggie.
No report.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the City Administrator's Report. Item A, report from Kerber, Eck, and Breckel LP, independent review of the expenditures of the proceeds of the 2018 series certificates of participation for the period October 1st of 2019 through December 31st, 2019. Ola, are you taking that? Is Karen taking it? Who's, I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Courtney's present.
Brittany?
Courtney.
Okay, go right ahead.
Hi, good evening. My name is Courtney Cannon, and I'm a senior accountant with Kerber, Eck, and Breckel, joining to present our report on the agreed upon procedures related to the expenditures of the 2018 and the 2019 certificate of participation proceeds for the period from October 1st, 2019 through December 31st, 2019. We would like to note that agreed upon procedures do not constitute an audit, an examination, or a review, and accordingly, we have not expressed an opinion or conclusion on the expenditures of the certificate of participation proceeds. The procedures performed were agreed to by the Board of Aldermen and the Mayor of the City of Brentwood, and the sufficiency of those procedures is solely the responsibility of the Board of Aldermen and the Mayor of the City of Brentwood, and we make no representation regarding the sufficiency of the procedures. The procedures and associated findings for the Series 2018 Certificate of Participation, request number 31 through 36, which included 34 invoices totaling $2,524,230.26, are as follows. First, signed contracts were reviewed for all invoices, with the exception of purchases made from sole service providers, purchases made on the open market with a value of less than $2,000, purchases requiring a quick turnaround as allowed under Purchasing Code Section 135.120, selection of professional services, and purchases from subcontractors covered under previously approved contracts with the City of Brentwood. Our procedures identified exceptions on 3 invoices paid to Thovino, Wade, and Motion Incorporated, TWM. The hourly fees charged on these invoices did not agree to the hourly fees stated in TWM's contract with the City of Brentwood as approved by the Board of Aldermen on May 17, 2017. Upon further investigation by management, it was determined that TWM's contract did not include an automatic provision for annual employee compensation increases. After the city requested excess charges be refunded, the credit totaling $28,095.50 was applied to the February 11th, 2020 TWM invoice, bringing total charges to date in line with the city's approved contract. Second, we examined invoices to determine if City of Brentwood policy and internal controls were followed, comparing all 34 invoices to the City of Brentwood policies and internal control procedures. No exceptions were noted. Finally, we examined invoices for proper payment allowed by the official statement of Certificate of Participation, comparing all 34 invoices to the official statement for allowability. No exceptions were noted. The procedures and associated findings for the Series 2019 Certificate of Participation, requests number 1 through 3, which include 11 invoices totaling $7,851,780.21, are as follows. First, signed contracts were reviewed for all invoices with the exception of purchases made from sole source providers, purchases made on the open market with a value of less than $2,000, purchases requiring a quick turnaround as allowed under Purchasing Code Section 135.120, selection of professional services, and purchases from subcontractors covered under previously approved contracts with the City of Brentwood. No exceptions noted. Next, we examined all invoices to determine if City of Brentwood policy and internal controls were followed. We compared all 11 invoices to the City of Brentwood policies and internal control procedures. No exceptions were noted. Finally, we examined these invoices for proper payments allowed by the official statement of the Certificate of Participation. We compared all 11 invoices to the official statement. No exceptions were noted. I am available for any questions if anyone had anything they would like to add.
Yeah, do we have any questions?
Mr. Mayor, I have a question.
Yeah, who was that? Yeah, Alderman Plufka.
Thank you. Maybe I've got an old version of the meeting, but in my agenda item details, it has the quarterly report that was previous. I don't have the current quarterly report, nor the list that was just described by Courtney in my material, unless I'm not looking in the right place, Shelley. I mean, I guess that's possible, but
No, I think you're probably right.
The attachments I have, the first attachment I have is the quarterly report through September 30th of 2019.
I have the same thing.
Oh, I can't hear you.
No, you're right, Alderman Plufka. That's the one that they just went through was not attached to the agenda.
Okay. Okay. And as I understood it from what Courtney had to say, there were no exceptions noted in any of the analysis of the procedures?
There was one exception. Our procedures identified exceptions on 3 invoices with TWM. We noted that the hourly fees charged on those invoices did not match the hourly fees in the contract that the board approved. Management discussed with TWM and they have since been credited for the full amount.
That was the $28,000 figure you mentioned, I think?
That's the $28,095. Correct.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, great. Thank you very much, Courtney.
Thanks so much.
And next on the agenda is a Brentwood Bound update, item 8B. Is that Craig?
Yep, can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay. Starting with grants, the 319 grant, the city could net up to $300,000 if awarded this grant, and we're expecting to hear back between May 1st and July 31st of this year. The National Science Foundation grant, we've talked about this one before. We were hoping to know by early March, but unfortunately, COVID-19 has delayed the committee getting together and announcing the award. Currently, we're hearing that award could be announced in early April, which is essentially in the next week. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's delayed again. So you guys will hear when we hear something, but we're hopeful to get awarded that grant. The last grant is the FMA grant. This is another one we've spoken about before. This one's a couple months away, but we hope to know by June 2020. Now going into some general project updates. The Deer Creek flood mitigation demolition package 1 is completed and closed out. The final invoices are part of this warrant list today. Demolition package 2, which includes all the remaining phase 1 flood mitigation buildings and 2814 Breckenridge Industrial Court. This project, all the bid documents are being wrapped up. We're going to go out to bid next Wednesday, which is April 15th, and bids will be due on May 7th. This will allow us to start construction late June or early July. Flood mitigation phase 1, the draft 95% drawings are being worked on right now. They'll be issued late May, and the project is targeted to go out to bid in early June to have bids due on mid-July. Flood mitigation phase 2, the 60% drawings are being worked on right now, and they are estimated to be completed in July. Now jumping to Manchester Road improvements. The 100% draft plans that we've spoken about that we're going to be printed off and put it in City Hall. Now due to COVID-19, that's not a good idea. So we are posting those on brentwoodbound.org. Janet is working on that. If they're not up there right now, they'll be on the website shortly. MoDOT has issued all offers to all affected property owners in Brentwood as of last week. So they'll be working on negotiations, mediation, and potentially condemnation over the next couple months. MoDOT has not, this has to do with the article that was in a Post-Dispatch last week. I talked to the area engineer and asked if MoDOT was feeling any impacts from COVID-19 and how that affects Manchester Road improvements. And he said that MoDOT has not come out and made any statements that their projects will be held up due to a lack of funding created by COVID-19. MoDOT does need to get an additional bill passed, which will replace the Fixing America Service Transportation, which is known as the FAST Act. This is not an uncommon occurrence. The last time it happened was about 8 or 10 years ago, but they need that to happen by September. If not, there could potentially be a delay because some of the federal funds are needed for the Manchester Road Improvements Project. He has assured me that MoDOT internally is working full steam ahead. Like I mentioned, they're still working with property owners in Brentwood. Design is heavily underway. So they are not stopping anything. They're proceeding like they're going to get federal funding, and they're working politically to help ensure that happens. So if all that happens, the project will go out to bid in the fall, and construction will begin immediately thereafter. Next is Deer Creek Greenway Connector. The 30% drawings will be completed in late April. The flood mitigation phase 2 Parks Master Plan. If you remember that big overall map that we've presented a lot of our presentations, we've never had a master plan done in the phase 2 area. It was just a green blob and it just said phase 2 parks. That master plan will be done in late April to be reviewed with you all. The goal is sometime in May, either the first or the second meeting, to have these new plans and master plans presented to you all so you guys can see them all. So that is forthcoming. Next is the redevelopment part of the project. Last time we talked, we needed a PGAV task order to be approved. You all approved that. So we're going to be working behind the scenes over the next couple months, coming up with a work session presentation in August to talk about with all you all about what this area looks like and what are the next steps in the redevelopment part of the project. So that'll be an open work session in August. More information is forthcoming there. Going to the next page, upcoming community engagement events. This is all pending COVID-19. If we can't do it safely, we're coming up with plans to do a virtual open house meeting, but we would like to do this in person if possible and if we can do it safely. But May 27th, as we've talked with you all back at the June 18th, 2019 work session, Mary Avenue Road will no longer go past the medical office building. So because of that, the Executive Walk apartments will have to exit out onto Brazos. In addition, with the new Brazos coming off Brentwood Boulevard, that road will connect up as well. So there will be some street revisions as part of this Norm West Park. And we're gonna meet with the residents on May 27th. And Janet's gonna be sending out invitations late April, early May. So again, just trying to communicate as best as we can to talk about any potential impacts. June 3rd, we're gonna have an open house at the community center from 5 to 8 p.m. And at this open house, we'll be presenting the new Norm West Park drawings, which is those 30% drawings that'll be completed in late April. Updated project renderings. So the renderings that were done about a year or two ago are outdated. So we want to update those to make sure they are relevant and project specific. We're going to be releasing the new phase 2 park master plan, and we'll also be providing just general project updates. So again, that's June 3rd at the community center, and all are invited. I also wanted to touch on how COVID-19 is affecting Brentwood Bound. So overall, the project's really in a good place right now because we're mostly in design, and that allows us to all be able to work at home and work remotely. So there are no overall delays. There have been a few COVID-19 impacts. One is that NSF grant I spoke about earlier. The committee has not been able to get together, so the award date has been delayed. There have been some court hearings and mediations that have been delayed. Those groups are adapting to video conferencing, but that's delayed a few mediation hearings and court dates, but this is not anticipated to delay the overall project. One positive thing that could come out of this is because a lot of the private construction market is slowing down due to lending, the city could receive more favorable bids in the upcoming demo bid package, which is due on May 7th, and the upcoming flood mitigation phase 1 project in July. And that's because a lot of these contractors will aggressively go after these projects because there's just not a lot of projects out in the market right now. So that could be a positive benefit that could come out of this. Now going to the general financial update of Brentwood Bound. Since our last meeting, in the construction cost category, the total spent is $60,286. And these are the final 2 pay applications from Spiritus, who did the demo bid package 1. Going to soft costs, total spend since the last Board of Aldermen meeting is $355,691.02. The services that were performed were property acquisition legal fees, flood mitigation, Deer Creek Greenway Connector, Manchester Road improvements, engineering design, project management fees, property appraisals, traffic studies, and property surveys. Now down to property acquisitions. Total spend since the last Board of Aldermen meeting is $115,957.17. That includes property taxes, property relocation, and property reestablishment expenses. And last category, contingency. So before I was mentioning all the costs that have been spent to date, and I would track it with warrant lists. So technically, we haven't spent through any of the categories, so we haven't spent any contingency. But we decided to say what contingency has been committed because we do talk about it in closed session and other open forums. So committed contingency to date is $1,383,483. And this includes the property acquisition expenses that we talk about in closed session, property acquisition legal fees, and the horseshoe sewer design that is coming from the MSD agreement. So as you recall, once that agreement goes into place, we'll get refunded half of that design costs. So that would mean that out of the approximately $300,000 in design costs, about $150,000 will be added into contingency once that MSD agreement goes into place. So with that, on that MSD agreement, we have gotten the revised agreement. We're going through it right now. We are hoping that we can bring it to you all on April 20th. Once that agreement goes into place, there are several categories that will get affected here because we're going to be doing more construction. We're going to have design costs, so the soft costs will be impacted. We're going to have property acquisition impacts. And as I mentioned, the contingency will be impacted in a positive way due to that agreement. So if we can get that agreement approved on April 20th by you all, in May, I'll do an overall budget update because that MSD agreement will change a lot of these categories based on that agreement. So that will also be coming up at the first or third meeting in May. That's my update.
Great. Any questions for Craig on the update? Yeah, Alderman Leahy.
I have two questions, if I may, sir. The first one was we got a notification in the city administrator's report about paying the property taxes for the first arrangement. Was that taken care of? And where did that money come from?
The property taxes?
Yes.
Yeah, those are on the warrant list today. Is that your question?
Which set of money is that coming from?
Property acquisition.
Property acquisition arrangement. Second question I have is I'm still not on board with the Brazos roadway coming into the executive apartments. And I've sent a response back. I'd like to have a chance to sit down and discuss those options if possible.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay.
Hey,
Thanks, Craig.
one quick one. Hey,
Yeah.
Craig, you said that the 100% Manchester Road plans will be up on BrentwoodBound.org. When do you think that'll happen?
They might be on there right now. Is Janet on the line?
I just looked. I didn't see it up there.
Okay, it's in the works.
Would it be useful to put the other, like the 60% plans for Norm West and those things available with a big draft on them available to help communication with the public? Do you think that would be a good idea too?
Sure.
I mean, I think we should, if we have information, let's get it so it's easily accessible with one URL. So I think that would be a good idea too.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Anyone else?
I have a comment.
Yes, Alderwoman Tice.
To echo what Brandon said, I think even after this COVID-19 crisis ends, which hopefully it will, if we have stuff up on the website, that really, a lot of people can't make it to public forums, they can't come at night, and if we have stuff up on the website, it might prevent some thoughts that people in the community have that we're not being transparent and open and communicating. If it's up on our website, or on the BrentwoodBound.org, then it's out for everyone.
Okay. Anyone else? Great. Okay, let's move on to item 8C, which is request to donate items to the St. Louis County Emergency Operations Center. Bola, are you going to handle that one? If we can hear you. Nope. Still can't hear you.
Assistant Fire Chief Cottrell is on the line.
Okay. Chief Cottrell, Ronnie, you want to chime in?
Is he on?
Yes, I just unmuted him.
Okay. Ronnie? Ronnie? All right. Well,
can you hear me, Mayor?
Yeah, there we go.
There he is.
Okay, Ronnie, you
My
want
apologies.
No worries, no worries. You want to explain to the board and the public what we're talking about, the request to donate the items to the St. Louis
Yes,
County
sir.
Emergency Ops Center.
So with St. Louis County's response to the COVID-19 pandemic, they've ramped up operations and established a warehouse that logistics for St. Louis County is operating out of. This warehouse will provide PPE to all public first responders, so law enforcement, fire, EMS in St. Louis County. And as of last week, also adding 60 nursing facilities to that list. And their intent is to provide the personal protective equipment for the next 18 months out of this warehouse for those agencies in St. Louis County. It's going to be a continuous rolling stock of millions of pieces of PPE. With the acquisition of Midwest Floor warehouse in Brentwood, they have several shelves that are down there that are able to handle the loads that are required. St. Louis County will provide the personnel to come to Brentwood, tear it down, and then set it back up and in their new warehouse. So we're just requesting that these racks be donated for this use.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for Chief Cottrell on that? Is that a hand up? I can't tell. Alderwoman O'Neill, do you have your hand up? No? I guess it's just the Aurora Borealis. May look like your hand was up there. All right. Okay, Bull, what do you need from us? Do you need any type of a voice vote on this, or do we need any action by the board to donate this?
A motion, Mayor Dimmitt. would
Okay.
suffice.
I move that we donate the shelving described just recently from Midwest Flooring to the county for COVID-19 purposes.
Second.
Yeah, we got a motion by Alderman Tice. I saw a second by Alderman Lockmuller. Any further discussion? Okay. Do we have to do a roll call on this, Kevin? Nope. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? I see none. And so the motion carries. Thank you, everybody. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda, and we have too many items for me to keep track of. But let's take up first, Alderman O'Neill, I think you had a question about item I, which was resolution number 1206, the task order number 1 dealing with Arcturus. Why don't you throw out the questions that you have, and maybe we can get those answered without pulling it off the agenda.
Okay, I'm wondering if we really have to accept this idea of the link as the name. I think there's several things wrong with it. I think the people who came up with that, frankly, are tone deaf as far as the community goes. First of all, it's misleading because it's near Metrolink. It's confusing. The diagram of something that could be on a sidewalk with an arrow could point to Metrolink, not to the industrial court. There's just too much in there that's wrong. As a Ward 4 representative, I think people are unaware of the diversity we have here and that we have a good number of non-English speakers here. Some of them are graduate students, some are families of graduate students. They struggle with what day to put out trash, trying to get them to Metrolink as opposed to Hanley Industrial. It's just not a viable, clear brand in that respect. The second objection is the negative concept so many people have right now about.
Hey, Alderman O'Neill, if I could just interrupt just for a second.
Sure.
I think what we're going to do, we're going to actually pull that off the consent agenda. And we'll take that up as a separate item. That way you'll have an opportunity to speak specifically to that item, okay?
All right.
All right. Anybody else want to address any of the other items on the consent agenda?
Your Honor.
Lockmuller.
I'm looking at item B on the 2018 COPS warrant list.
Right.
We've got a bill that we have to pass first, further down under new business. And I'm just wondering if we should then wait and do the warrant list after we pass that bill for the expenses involved with Brentwood Bound. It's under Bill 6284, and it's listed on the warrant list.
Bola, do you have a one pitch in on that?
I would agree with that. This has to do with Rapsodo.
Okay.
So perhaps the board could defer taking any action on the warrant list until after Bill
6284
Okay.
is
Well,
voted
then
on or taken up.
why don't we pull item B off the consent agenda as well? Alderman Leahy.
Your Honor, I will abstain from that vote because there is a bill that is involved with 3-dog on Brentwood bound.
So you're not going to vote on the consent agenda?
I will not vote on the warrant list for the 2018 cops,
Okay.
the one you just pulled off.
Okay. Anybody else have any problems or any questions about any of the remaining items on the consent agenda? Okay, can we get a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended without items B and I?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion by Alderwoman Sims, second by Alderwoman O'Neill. Any further discussion? Okay, can we get a roll call, please, Shelley?
Alderwoman Eveling,
For,
Alderman Leahy,
yes.
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller,
Yes.
Alderwoman O'Neill,
Yes.
Alderwoman Tice,
Yes.
Alderman Plufka,
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims,
Yes.
Alderman Waggy.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Okay, we have, the next item on the agenda is item 10, old business. We have no old business. And so we'll drop into the new business. And we have, the very first thing is, bear with me here a second.
6283.
Bill number 6283. Can we get a first read of 6283 by title only, please, Mr. City Attorney?
This is second reading.
What? This is a first read on 6283. Is that
Bill number
right?
6283, first reading, an ordinance of the city of Brentwood, Missouri, approving an amendment lease with NB West Contracting Company and Western Construction Equipment Company Incorporated, authorizing certain other actions in connection therewith, providing for the effective date of this ordinance, and authorizing certain other action of effective date and containing a severability clause.
Thank you. Okay, who's handling this one, Bola?
Mark Murray is on the line.
Mark, you're up.
Good afternoon, or good evening. So this is a second amendment to the NB West lease to extend it for up to an additional 15 days to take it through May 15th of 2020. He requested this about a month ago, asking for the possibility to take his lease from April 30th to May 15th due to possibility of delay in finishing his new facility. So this pushes it out for 15 days. The city gets $750 in rent, and then there's also a $1,000 security deposit, which is refundable. If he leaves on time, he gets that $1,000 back.
Okay. Any questions for Mark on that? Seeing none. Okay. Can we get a motion, I guess, for a second read?
So moved.
Okay, we got a motion by, I think, Alderman Leahy, seconded by, I'm going to say, Alderman Lockmuller. All in favor of that motion? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Okay, Mr. City Attorney, can we get a second read of Bill 6283 by title only?
Bill number 6283, second reading and consideration for adoption. I'm sorry, it keeps moving when I hold down the space bar to speak. Excuse me. Bill number 6283, second reading and consideration for adoption. An ordinance of the city of Brentwood, Missouri, approving an amendment to lease with NB West Contracting Company and Western Construction Equipment Company Incorporated, authorizing certain other actions in connection therewith, providing for the effective date of this ordinance, and containing a severability clause.
Thank you.
Your Honor, I'll make the motion for the board to consider passing Bill 6283 into ordinance form.
Okay, we got a motion by Alderman Leahy to perfect Bill number 6283 in ordinance form. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Alderwoman Sims. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call, please, Shelley.
Alderwoman Ebeling,
Aye. Yes.
Alderman Leahy,
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller,
Yes.
Alderwoman O'Neill,
Yes.
Alderwoman Tyus,
Yes.
Alderman Plufka,
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims,
Yes.
and Alderman Weggie.
Yes.
Motion passes, becomes ordinance 4920.
Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is Bill number 6284. Can we get a first read by title only of Bill 6284, please, Mr. City Attorney?
Bill number 6284, first reading, an ordinance of the city of Brentwood, Missouri, approving a settlement agreement and release with Rapsodo Incorporated and Brentwood Industrial Holdings LLC concerning relocation compensation, authorizing certain other actions in connection therewith, providing for the effective date of this ordinance, and containing a severability clause.
Thank you. Okay, Mark.
Sure. So this is a settlement agreement release with Rapsodo Inc. Rapsodo is one of the former tenants of 8228 Brentwood Industrial Drive. That is one of the warehouses we bought at the end of last year from Nathan McKean's entities. They had trouble locating a new spot. They still have trouble locating a new spot to move to. They asked her for additional time. They threatened to hold over and stay in the premises. They threatened to sue the city and the landlord for a combination of $300,000 in alleged damages that they claim they suffered as a result of not being apprised of the possibility of moving into a relocation situation in Brentwood bound. We worked with them on this, tried to figure out a way to make this work for everybody. At the end of the day, we proposed and they proposed to us, and we kind of refined a little bit. They proposed a short-term staying to the end of last month, so they moved out on March 31st. They also proposed kind of liquidating their relocation compensation. We had budgeted up to $75,000 to relocate Rapsodo, and the agreement we struck with them, subject to your approval tonight, is that they would get essentially $20,000 for moving expenses and reestablishment expenses, $10,000 each, and then up to 6 payments of $5,000 each to store their personal property for up to 6 months. The first payment being made tonight, hopefully, or authorized tonight, hopefully, and then there would be an additional one at the end of April for May, at the end of May for June, and then June for July, then July for August, and then August for September. I think that's 6 months. So it's up to a total amount of $50,000. It could be less, depending on how quickly they get their to their new location. So it's a $25,000 tonight, which includes the first installment of $5,000 and monthly storage, and up to an additional 5 installments of $5,000 each for monthly storage. So it could be less than $50,000, but it's not to exceed $50,000. And we also have in there, they're releasing us from claims that they claim they might have against the city arising out of the lease or our acquisition of the property. So that's also in there.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Mark on this bill number 6284? Okay, can we get a motion for a second read?
I move we have a second read.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion by Alderwoman Ebeling, seconded by Alderwoman Sims. All in favor of the second read, say aye.
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 All opposed? All right, motion carries. Mr. City Attorney, can we get a second read of Bill 6284 by title only, please?
Bill number 6284, second reading and consideration for adoption. An ordinance of the city of Brentwood, Missouri, approving a settlement agreement and release with Rapsodo Incorporated and Brentwood Industrial Holdings LLC concerning relocation compensation, authorizing certain other actions in connection therewith, providing for the effective date of this ordinance, and containing a severability clause.
Thank you. Chair would entertain a motion to perfect Bill 6284 in the ordinance form?
So moved. Second.
Okay, we go. Motion by Alderman Lockmuller and seconded by whoever that was. Shelley, hopefully you got that. Okay. Any further discussion? Roll call. I'm sorry, Alderman, hold on a second. Alderman Leahy, did you have something?
Yeah, I'm trying to understand. Hold on, you're muted. Just a second. Hold on.
There we go.
Speak up.
I'm trying to understand. We're agreeing to pay them $30,000 to store their equipment, and we're doing it in 6 monthly installments.
Mark, you want to respond to that?
That is, it's up to the $30,000. That's a not to exceed figure for that. And that's part of the agreement to liquidate what relocation and benefits they're entitled.
Now, are they storing their equipment in a storage zone, or are they leaving it in the building that is now under our possession?
No, they have vacated the premises. I got an email from them. I don't want to say April 1st, saying they vacated as of March 31st.
So the agreement is we're paying them an extra $30,000 because they had to move, and they're putting it someplace because they haven't found an actual location they want to move to.
They have not found, that's correct. They have not found a new replacement premises yet.
Now, I'm under the impression that we are limited to a $10,000 arrangement for compensation because of the redevelopment agreement. So why are we agreeing to give them an additional 30? And I've gotten calls from a gentleman that is not happy with his offers. Why is this one? Because we're afraid of the legal entanglement?
Mark, is there a cap of $10,000?
There's a cap of reestablishment expenses for $10,000, which is what we've agreed to. There's no cap on relocation costs and what the cost to move might be. We ran this by Doug Marshall, who's the city's relocation consultant, and he thought it's something that the city could do to liquidate their exposure on relocation benefits to a relocating tenant.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Alderman Leahy?
I'm still having some trouble getting around how we're making this all happen and why we're treating this group differently than other groups that have come before us. And we had a gentleman that made phone calls, I think, to every one of the aldermen saying he was not happy with the negotiations. Are we setting a bad precedent?
I don't think you're setting a bad precedent by approving this. I guess I'm not sure who is calling you, the other alderman, but I would recommend that they reach out to Doug Marshall about their benefits. We've essentially told this tenant and other tenants, the city of Brentwood acknowledges they're responsible for your relocation costs, and not that we want them to find every possible expense to pass on to us. That's what they're entitled to do. So if there's something that this person thinks they're entitled to, I would encourage them to call Doug Marshall to ask about it.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. Any other questions for Mark? All right, we've had a motion to perfect and it's been seconded. No further discussion. Can we get a roll call, please, Shelley?
Alderwoman Eberly?
Yes.
Alderman Leahy?
No.
Alderman Lockmiller?
Yes.
Alderwoman O'Neill?
Yes.
Alderwoman Tice?
Yes.
Alderman Plufka?
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims?
Yes.
Alderman Weggie?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-1. Is bill number 4921.
Thank you. All right, next on the agenda is bill number 6285. Mr. City Attorney, can we get a first read by title only, please?
Bill number 6285, first reading, an ordinance granting site development plan approval to the Retina Institute for site modifications at property number 2201 South Brentwood Boulevard, which permits, under the provisions of Title 4, Chapter 400 of the Brentwood Code of Ordinances, the development of that site, providing the conditions of such development, and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. Lisa, can you shed some light on this?
I get it.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay. So the project consists of a site plan review and approval for property at 2201 South Brentwood Boulevard.
Hey, Lisa, hold on
The
just a
property
second.
currently has.
Can you start?
Can you hear me
Sorry.
all right?
Now that's better. Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. So the proposal is for site plan approval for property at 2201 South Brentwood Boulevard. The property includes 4 existing buildings, and the site plan would remove 3 of those existing buildings, and the existing office building that's at 2201 South Brentwood at the corner would still remain. There is plans in the future for a 24 square foot building addition, and the rest of the improvements for the site plan include reconfiguring an existing parking area that's behind the office building at 2201, and then also the construction of a new parking area as well. So after the development is done, there'll be 82 parking spaces to serve the office building. The other changes consist of removal actually of some curb cuts along South Brentwood Boulevard, which we think is a plus. St. Louis County Department of Transportation has already approved the preliminary concept plan for this site plan, which again calls for the removal of 1 curb cut and then instead installing along South Brentwood Boulevard a right-in, right-out only access onto South Brentwood Boulevard.
Oh, hold on. Everybody's muted now. You'll have to unmute.
There we go. Thank you, Lisa.
All right.
Do we have any questions for Lisa concerning bill number 6285?
Yeah, David, I have a question.
Is it me?
Yeah.
Hey, Lisa, are they doing the second story now or later? Because it says a renovation with a second story.
The building addition will come later. They will have to come back and bring the architectural elevations back to the Planning and Zoning Commission for review, and then also to the Board of Aldermen for approval on that at a later date.
And then the parking lot to the west, right behind the building, that's zone residential B, and that can continue under the new owner?
Yes, you can continue still. It's a legal non-conforming use in a B single-family residential district, but it can remain. It doesn't have to be rezoned at this time. And the other parcels for this development site are zone plan development.
One last question. So then he doesn't have, because that's zone B, he doesn't have to do that 25-foot buffer, landscape buffer between him and the neighbor.
That is correct. It's existing, but the new parking area to the south will have to follow all of the current code requirements, which does include that, leaving that 25 feet for landscape and screening.
Okay, thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Kind of building on that same line of questioning. So all that, the only break to the west in the existing parking lot is the landscaping that's shown on the plans that are here. There is no, and forgive me, I've been trying to read this thing. It says to replant existing evergreens, but I don't understand is there a fence at the back of this?
Yeah, there'll be also a retaining wall with a fence installed on the retaining wall.
Okay, a retaining wall because of a change in elevation?
Yes, there is a pretty good significant drop in elevation.
Okay, and so I guess what I'm curious about is headlights that would face west would face into the side of a home right there in the next lot? Or is that fence going to take
be taller than where the,
Right, yeah, between the height of the retaining wall and then also with the fence, it should then secure any type of glare from headlights or from the cars parked there.
okay. Okay, that's really the question I had. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Sure. Do we have any other questions for Lisa on bill number 6285? Okay, can we get a motion for a second reading, please?
Second.
Okay, motion by Alderman Leahy for second read, second by Alderwoman O'Neill. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, say no. None opposed, motion carries. Okay, Mr. City Attorney, can we get a reading of bill number 6285 by title only, please?
Bill 6285, second reading and consideration for adoption. An ordinance granting site development plan approval to the Retina Institute for site modifications at property number 2201 South Brentwood Boulevard, which permits under the provisions of Title IV, Chapter 400 of the Brentwood Code of Ordinances, the development of that site, providing for the conditions of such development and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Your Honor,
Thank you.
I'll make the motion to approve Bill 6285 in the ordinance form.
Second.
We had a motion by Alderman Leahy to perfect bill number 6285 in ordinance form, seconded by Alderman Lockmuller. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Roll call, please, Shelley.
Alderwoman Ebling? Oh, you're on mute. Hold on just a second. Okay, Alderwoman Ebling? Alderman Leahy?
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller?
Yes.
Alderwoman O'Neill?
Yes.
Alderwoman Tice?
Yes.
Alderman Plufka?
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims?
Yes.
And Alderman Weggie?
Yes.
Motion passes. It becomes ordinance number 4922.
Next on the agenda is bill number 6286. Can we get a first read by title only, please, Mr. City Attorney?
Bill number 6286, first reading, an ordinance adopting and enacting a new code of ordinances of the city of Brentwood, establishing the same, providing for the repeal of certain ordinances not included therein, except as herein expressly provided, and providing for the manner of amending such code of ordinances, providing penalty for all violations thereof, and providing when this ordinance shall become effective.
Thank you. Kevin, can you explain to the board what this bill is for and for the people watching?
Yes, sir. This is one of the periodic updates of the city's code. We pass ordinances from time to time on different subjects. Some of them relate specifically to the permanent code of ordinances. Other are of a more, a less general nature. And we have the editor and publisher of our code reprint and update the code periodically so that there is a primary source for members of the staff, members of the public wanting to know what the laws of the city are, can find that in an orderly and effective and comprehensive manner. And this is the latest update to that codification of the city's laws.
Great, thank you. Any questions for the city attorney about bill number 6286? Okay, we're doing a second read on this, Bola or Shelley, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Can we get a motion for a second reading of bill 6286?
So move.
Second.
Yeah, we had a motion by Alderwoman Tice, I believe, seconded by Alderman Leahy. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Seeing none, the motion will carry 8-0. Can we get a second reading of bill number 6286 by title only, please, Mr. City Attorney?
Bill number 6286, second reading and consideration for adoption. An ordinance adopting and enacting a new code of ordinances of the city of Brentwood, establishing the same, providing for the repeal of certain ordinances not included therein, except as herein expressly provided, providing for the manner of amending such code of ordinances, providing penalty for the violation thereof, and providing when this ordinance shall become effective.
Thank you. Can we get a motion?
Your Honor, I'll make a motion to perfect Bill 6286 into ordinance form.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion by Alderman Leahy to perfect Bill 6286 in ordinance form, seconded by Alderwoman Ebeling. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Alderwoman Ebeling,
Yes.
Alderman Leahy,
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller,
Yes.
Alderwoman O'Neill,
Yes.
Alderwoman Tice,
Yes.
Alderman Plufka,
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims,
Yes.
Alderman Weggie.
Yes.
Motion passes, it becomes ordinance 4923.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is Bill number 6287. Can we get a first reading by title only, please, Mr. City Attorney?
Yes, sir, sorry. Bill number 6287, first reading, an ordinance amending section 115.150 of the city code relating to the positions of acting and interim city administrator.
Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, can you just briefly describe or explain to the board and more importantly to the people watching what 6287, the purpose of it?
Yes, sir. As we discussed, frankly, at the last meeting, when the question of the susceptibility of the concern of the health of our staff and everybody, the question of continuity of government came up, and the mayor and I had discussed it prior to that, and recognized that we did not have a manner provided in the code to see to it that if the city administrator was ill or unavailable, there was specific authority to delegate responsibility to carry out the duties of that office to a temporary designee. The city code already had provisions for the position of interim city administrator, but that was not for short-term absences. That was for a vacancy in office circumstances. So this amendment piggybacks on that portion of the code and establishes the right or the obligation of the city administrator to designate an acting city administrator in the event that he or she is out of the county for more than 24 hours or incapacitated in some way. And that this then authorizes the acting city administrator to discharge the duties and fulfill the responsibilities of that office.
Great, thank you, thank you. Any questions for the city attorney about this? Okay, can we get a motion for a second reading of Bill 6287, please?
So moved.
Second.
We got a motion by Alderwoman O'Neill, seconded by Alderman Weggie, I think. Thanks. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Okay, thank you. Motion carries 8-0. Can we get a motion to perfect Bill 6287 in ordinance form?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion by Alderwoman Tice, seconded by Alderwoman Sims. Any further discussion? Roll call, please, Shelley.
Alderwoman Ebeling,
Yes.
Alderman Leahy,
Yes.
Time out.
Hold on a second. I think we got slightly ahead of ourselves. I don't think I actually read the title again.
Oh, the second read? Okay, sorry about that. I thought you did. Okay.
So I think we had the voice vote on the motion to have the second reading.
Okay. Thank you.
Bill number 6287, second reading and consideration for adoption, an ordinance amending section 115.150 of the city code relating to the positions of acting and interim city administrator.
Thank you. I bet we're going to get a motion to perfect Bill 6287 by Alderwoman Tice.
Yes, you are.
It's going to be seconded by Alderwoman Sims.
Second.
All right. Okay, can we get roll call, please?
Alderwoman Ebeling,
Yes.
Alderman Leahy,
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller,
Yes.
Alderwoman O'Neill,
Yes.
Alderwoman Tice,
Yes.
Alderman Plufka,
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims,
Yes.
Alderman Weggie.
Yeah.
Motion passes and it becomes ordinance number 4924.
Okay. Next on the agenda, we still have two things that were added to the new business off the consent agenda. First, let's take up the warrant list for it was originally item 9B, the warrant list 2020 operating funds expenditures. Now that we have approved the one item on the the warrant list. Can we get a motion to approve the warrant list for 2020 operating funds?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion by Alderman Lockmuller, seconded by Alderwoman O'Neill. Any discussion?
Your Honor, I'll abstain.
Okay. Alderman Leahy is going to abstain. Can we get a roll call, please, Shelley?
Alderwoman Ebling,
Yes.
Alderman Leahy,
Yes.
or abstain. Alderman Lockmiller,
Yes.
Alderwoman O'Neill,
Yes.
Alderwoman Tice,
Yes.
Alderman Plufka,
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims,
Yes.
and Alderman Whitey.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. And now the last one under new business is resolution. I'm sorry. Oh, you're muted, Kevin.
Sorry about that. If I may, just so the record's clear, I think there may have been, I know that the board is fully aware of what it just voted on, but I think inadvertently you invited a motion to approve the 2020 operating funds, which was item C, and this is the 2018 certificates of participation expenditures. And so I believe that was the only matter passed down. That was in fact what was before the board when the vote was taken, but so there's no ambiguity. I think just to correct the misnomer at the time that you invited the motion.
Okay, thank
So
you.
that the record's clear.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll take up resolution 1206. Can we get first a motion to approve resolution 1206?
So moved.
And
Second.
okay, we had a motion by Alderwoman Ebeling, seconded by Alderman Plufka. Alderwoman O'Neill, you would like to speak to this?
Yes, I don't want to repeat what I said before about the link as a branding name that has a problem. I want to add to that though, in that many people right now are harboring negative feelings about Metrolink. Security is an issue. There are people who won't ride it simply because of fear of that. Anything that we do that ties in with that reflects negativity on Brentwood. I don't think that is something we want to be doing. So whoever came up with this idea of the link wasn't very aware of what's going on in the community. And my last I have a question about, is there any monetary agreement between Metrolink and Brentwood that this carries some weight between the two? Is there any connection we already have there that I don't know about?
Okay. Lola or Lisa, can either of you speak to that last question?
So I'm sorry, maybe if I don't understand the question, was it in regard to any kind of like partnership or something we have with Metrolink, or
yeah,
monetarily, or?
Your Honor, does Metrolink call the shots about anything? Is there anything? I mean, the name is just too interwoven to be separate. It seems like there must be something. So people would say, is there a financial windfall for Brentwood or for Metrolink, one way or the other? Why are we doing this? Why are we promoting Metrolink and calling it the link?
So I don't know if maybe the question also was if we'd have to get some kind of approval from Metrolink if we're picking out something that is either similar, or maybe there could be some kind of connotation that we're talking about Metrolink. But that was not the intent of coming up with this branding for this particular area. And we did spend about, I don't know, 4 or 5 months. I guess there was 3 or 4 staff persons that worked on this along with the consultants. And we did have other concepts, but we did think that this was a concept that would work. And it has been vetted by members of the Hanley Industrial Court Association, although it has been a small number. I believe it's been a couple months, but I think it was maybe about 4 members of the Hanley Industrial Court Association that we made the presentation to. I don't want to speak for those 4 individuals, but I think they were pretty excited about it. And so in terms of Arcturus, did they meet the obligations of the contract, and did they give us the deliverables? they did, and we accepted this work. So now what really this amendment for this contract would be is we probably should have had, now thinking about it, more opportunities for some of these public meetings. I think it's helpful before, again, maybe people have certain thoughts about what the link means, is to kind of have an opportunity to listen to the entire presentation and how this whole branding plan did evolve. And I think that really shed a lot of light for, again, the members that we addressed with the Hanley Industrial Court Association. So I'm not sure if having one more meeting to be able to present this to a broader group of the public and to the board will necessarily change everybody's opinion about it. But that's really what the amendment calls for, is just to be able to have one more meeting to present it to a larger audience and to get that feedback.
Thank you.
Okay, Alderman Lockmuller.
Yeah, this came through Public Works, and the resolution is just to allot some additional monies, and correct me if I'm wrong, Lisa, so that you can get before the stakeholders with our tourists, as well as have them present to the full board what this all is about, right?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Alderman Tice.
So I'd sort of like to turn this a little from the discussion of the name of the link area, but talk about the expenditure. I would like to amend, make an amended motion that we allot $950 for one additional meeting rather than $1,900 for 2 additional meetings.
Yeah, I would second that.
And if I could talk about my reasoning, we've just laid off the all of our part-time employees in Brentwood. Right now we're doing Zoom meetings. It would probably be pretty easy to do a Zoom kind of meeting to present this to the board and the business owners all at one time, or after COVID-19 is over, we could all, the business owners could be invited to the Board of Aldermen meeting, or we could be invited to the business owner meeting. I know it's not a lot of money, but for the folks we've laid off, $950 is a whole lot of money.
Okay. So I guess we've got a motion to amend Resolution 1206. The motion was essentially to reduce the expenditures for 2 meetings down to
We lost him.
Who'd we lose?
Mayor.
Mayor.
Just in the nick of time.
Jump in, Steve. You're up.
Let me get on my dancing shoes. Wait a minute.
I'm going to send him another connection, maybe.
Yeah. They don't see that. Yeah, we're still.
David asked you to rejoin the meeting.
Oh. We can't adjourn.
We'll be here till tomorrow.
I sent it again.
Okay, he lost internet service. He will be logging in shortly. We'll wait for him. Okay.
We're gonna wait.
Yes.
If not, he should be able to dial in as well.
It looks like Sony was lost too.
Yeah, I had my, I lost my internet connection.
All right, I'm gonna try so.
Tell you for what it's worth, about 40 minutes ago, and I'm on my phone now because I couldn't on that.
Hi.
Is there any reason we couldn't have the discussion while we're waiting for him to come back on?
No,
Kevin?
but he asked that we give him a minute. Is that him? Who's that?
That's bad, I think.
Kevin, what do you say? David, are you close? Could you maybe use your phone? Okay, he's close. Zoom, yes. You click on the invite. Did it show us?
I sent two recently. I might be able to put him back. If he just gets dialed in, I think I might be able to turn the camera back on.
He's getting his phone.
Alderman Plufka, our drummer.
Yeah, I'm experiencing an earthquake.
Okay.
Yeah, I got one.
Hey, Kevin, can I go ahead and just take over from here?
I think if it's the board's pleasure to continue with their business with the unexpected interruption, I think they can do so with you as chair.
Shelley, do we have all the other aldermen back?
Sonny is missing.
No, I think Sunny's on.
She's not at the computer.
Oh,
Is Brandon there?
I'm here. And
I
second
just
the
saw
motion to
Brandon, yeah.
continue.
I think if it is without objection, you can just go ahead and resume the discussion, Mr. Acting Chair.
Does anybody have any objection?
no.
All right. I think where we left off, Alderwoman Tice made a motion. I don't know if it was seconded.
It was.
It was.
Any discussion on the motion?
Well, this is Brandon. I'll jump in. I mean, I think it's a valid motion. We approved this at Public Works, and I would say things have changed quite a bit since that meeting. You know, I think if we can consolidate this to one meeting, it's a very good thing to do. You know, it's hard to have meetings right now anyway, so I would say we combine that with Board of Aldermen to understand the link and the Handley Industrial Court Association. I think this is a smart thing to do with the situation right now.
Is
Agreed.
Alderwoman O'Neill?
I agree. I think if we can save some money as well as time, it would be a benefit on both ends.
Okay. Lisa, are you still there?
All right.
All right.
Everybody's back. Hey, we're back.
Okay. No.
Okay, sorry about that, everybody.
I hand it back over to the mayor.
Mr. Mayor, we are in discussion on the motion to amend the bill, the resolution to allow only one meeting at half the cost.
Okay. All right. So we need a vote on.
I believe at the moment there was a request to Ms. Corkenmeyer for some information, and she was about to respond.
Okay.
Lisa, if we cut this down to that amount, that would be one meeting, correct?
That's correct.
And you would just combine those with stakeholders and the board, and that's possible?
I think it is. Again, with kind of the times right now, that may be hard to do in a virtual format. So this might be something we might have to wait a little bit on to at least, maybe a month or so. I don't know when we can have the meeting, but I think it would work to have a joint meeting.
Thank you.
Okay. So Kevin, can you help me out here? I kind of got lost here when I was trying to reconnect.
Yes, sir. I believe the discussion is wound down, and it would be in order to take up the question of a vote on the motion to amend the resolution.
Okay, thank you. All right. So we got a motion by Alderwoman Tice, second by Alderwoman Weggie to amend. Do we need to do that with, can we do it with a voice vote, Kevin?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? None? All right. Now, can we, so did we have a second read on that?
It's a resolution. There's only one reading.
Okay, thank you. I don't have my board docs in front of me. Okay, so we have a motion then to approve. I guess it's roll call then, is that right, Kevin, at this point?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Alderwoman Ebling,
Yes.
Alderman Leahy,
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller,
Yes.
Alderwoman O'Neill,
Yes.
Alderwoman Tice,
Yes.
Alderman Plufka,
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims,
Yes.
and Alderman Weggie.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, great. So again, since I don't have my board docs, that's it on the new items, right?
Yes.
That's
Citizen
it.
comment.
Okay, we have no citizen comments. And so I guess at this point, if memory serves, do we need a motion then to go into closed session?
Your Honor, I make a motion that we go into closed session under revised Missouri statutes, chapter 610, section 021.1, 021.2, and 021.3 involving legal, real estate, and personnel, and adjourn the meeting therefrom.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Can we, I'm sorry. Can we get a roll call, please, Shelley?
Alderwoman Ebling,
Yes.
Alderman Leahy,
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller,
Yes.
Alderwoman O'Neill,
Yes.
Alderwoman Tice,
Yes.
Alderman Plufka,
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims,
Yes.
and Alderman Weggie.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. So I guess we're going to adjourn for about a few minutes, and then we all have to dial in. Is that correct?
Yes, your new meeting.
Okay. Everybody remember, you got the instructions, I think, on the email from Shelley about how to dial in.
Okay.
So why don't we do that?
It's the same as you did prior.
Okay, why don't we do that in about just a few minutes?
Okay.
Thank you.